The book Liar's Poker was written by Michael Lewis. It was published in 1989 and is a memoir that tells the story of his experience working on Wall Street in the 1980s. Lewis was a bond salesman at Salomon Brothers, one of the most powerful investment banks of the time. The book gives an inside look at the world of high finance, showing both the excitement and the greed that ruled the industry during that period. Through his personal experiences, Lewis describes the culture of Wall Street and how young traders made huge amounts of money, often by taking big risks. At the same time, he explains how the financial system worked and how it was sometimes driven more by luck and manipulation than by skill. The story begins with Lewis as a young man who had just graduated from Princeton University. He was not sure what he wanted to do with his life, but he knew that he wanted to make money. One night at a dinner in London, he met a senior executive from Salomon Brothers. They started talking, and the executive was impressed by him. This chance meeting led to a job offer, and soon, Lewis found himself working on Wall Street. His first step was to go through the company's training program, which was designed to teach new employees everything they needed to know about finance. However, the training was not very organized, and many of the new employees were more interested in partying than studying. Despite this, Lewis quickly learned how the business worked and began to understand the culture of the firm. Salomon Brothers was one of the top investment banks at the time, and it had built its success on the bond market. In particular, the company made a huge amount of money by trading mortgage-backed securities, a type of bond that was relatively new at the time. Lewis explains how these bonds worked and how Salomon Brothers used them to become one of the most powerful firms on Wall Street. However, as the company grew, so did the greed and arrogance of the people working there. Traders and salesmen would do whatever it took to make more money, often bending the rules or taking risky bets. The company encouraged this kind of behavior because it led to bigger profits. As long as employees were making money for the firm, they were rewarded with large bonuses and promotions. One of the key parts of the book is the idea of liar's poker, a game that traders played to show off their ability to bluff and take risks. The game involved trying to guess the serial numbers on dollar bills while convincing others that they knew the answer. This game was not just for fun. It reflected the way business was done at Salomon Brothers. Traders had to be confident, aggressive, and willing to take risks. The best traders were not always the smartest people, but they were the ones who could convince others to believe in them. This same attitude applied to the real financial world, where deals were often based on confidence rather than solid knowledge. Lewis saw how traders made millions of dollars simply by acting like they knew more than they actually did. As Lewis continued working at Salomon Brothers, he saw both the highs and the lows of Wall Street. On one hand, he was making more money than he had ever imagined. He had access to expensive restaurants, luxury apartments, and the fast-paced lifestyle of New York City. On the other hand, he saw how unstable the financial world could be. Markets would rise and fall quickly, and fortunes could be lost overnight. Many traders became arrogant, thinking that they were invincible, but in reality, they were just lucky. Some people made smart decisions, but others simply happened to be in the right place at the right time. The book shows how Wall Street was not always about skill. It was often about timing, connections, and boldness. Another important part of the book is how Salomon Brothers started to decline. As the firm grew, it became less focused on making smart investments and more focused on making quick profits. The company's leadership changed, and the new executives cared more about their own bonuses than about the company's long-term success. This led to a culture where people made reckless decisions, thinking only about short-term gains. Eventually, this behavior caught up with the company, and it started losing its position as a top firm. Lewis describes how the company's mistakes and internal conflicts led to its downfall, showing that even the most powerful firms are not immune to failure. Throughout the book, Lewis mixes his personal experiences with explanations of how the financial system worked. He describes the different types of bonds, how traders made money, and how the financial markets operated. However, he does this in a way that is easy to understand, using humor and storytelling rather than technical language. This makes the book enjoyable to read, even for people who do not have a background in finance. Lewis also highlights the absurdity of some of the things he saw on Wall Street. For example, he talks about how young traders with little experience were making millions of dollars just because they happened to be in the right job at the right time. He also describes how some executives had no idea what was happening in their own companies, yet they still made important decisions that affected the entire financial system. Lewis provides a detailed account of how the culture at Salomon Brothers created an environment of excess and recklessness. The traders thrived on competition, and it was common to see people shouting across the trading floor, betting large sums of money, and making split-second decisions that could result in either massive gains or devastating losses. The stress and pressure were immense, and many employees turned to unhealthy coping mechanisms. Some used drugs, while others spent their nights partying, only to return to work the next morning and do it all over again. The job was not just about finance. It was about surviving in a world where only the toughest and most ruthless people succeeded. Over time, Lewis began to realize that he did not want to be part of this world. He saw how the pursuit of money had taken over people's lives, making them willing to do anything for bigger profits. He saw how traders manipulated markets, misled clients, and made bets that had little to do with actual economic value. He also saw how little control even the top executives had over the financial system. They acted as if they knew what they were doing, but in reality, they were often just reacting to the chaos around them. This made him question the entire financial industry and his place in it. In the end, Liar's Poker is both a personal story and a larger commentary on the financial world. Lewis shows how Wall Street was driven by greed, risk-taking, and a sense of invincibility. He also shows how luck played a big role in success, with some people making fortunes while others lost everything. The book gives a behind-the-scenes look at the culture of investment banking, showing both its exciting and its dangerous sides. Lewis eventually decided to leave Wall Street, realizing that he did not want to be part of a world that valued money above everything else. His book serves as both a memoir and a warning, showing how financial markets can be unpredictable and how greed can lead to both great wealth and great losses.